Cheers. Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a little bit different, but I wanted to talk about being in a slump. I've probably been feeling this way for a few months now, and it is due to a number of factors, but I started feeling like my standard work life, my YouTube work, and even my fitness were starting to take a bit of a hit. I found myself spending far more time than I normally would doing things like playing video games, and letting my sort of nutrition and my finance management slide. And generally, it just kind of felt like a bit of a slump. I've never really been that great with dealing with my mental health, instead opting to just sort of push it through and see it as a bit of a blip on my road to success or whatever. This last year has been really tough, not only with lockdown and COVID and things like that, but in just trying to find general purpose in my life and direction. And in 2021, I wanted to double down on some of my passions, such as coffee and cooking and CrossFit. However, alongside working a 40-hour week and then maybe an additional kind of 20 hours or so a week, trying to grow this YouTube channel, it really started to become quite unsustainable after about 5 or 6 months, particularly as I wasn't really giving myself the time and attention needed for proper self-care. There are a few things that I wanted to give a go to try and get out of this slump a bit, and while I'm not back at full operation yet, I am starting to feel a little bit better. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about 4 things. Number 1, journaling. Number 2, meditation. Number 3, focusing on my diet and scheduling my workouts. And number 4, giving myself some guilt-free downtime. I've put the time codes below if you want to jump to a particular section. But with all that said, let's jump into it. Journaling. Journaling is one of those habits that I've never really been able to stay consistent with. I'd stick with it for a good while and then maybe miss a day or two and completely fall off the wagon. However, I decided to tackle this slightly differently this time, opting instead for a pen and paper approach. You see, the problem was that using a digital journaling solution such as Day One felt like a much bigger barrier to entry by having to boot up my laptop just to do some writing, instead of simply pulling a journal out of a drawer and cracking on. The other consideration is, when you're writing on a laptop or a computer or stuff, you've got all of those prompts telling you that you've made a mistake here or there's a grammatical error there, and it sort of interrupts that flow that you kind of rely on when you're journaling, because all you really want to do is just brain diarrhea onto a page. You don't want all of these things stopping the flow and getting in the way. The benefits of journaling are well documented, and I found that by just being able to brain dump onto an A5 piece of paper every morning, it allows me to work through some of these sort of negative emotions and concerns that I might have, freeing up more time to do other activities, such as meditation. Like journaling, I've always struggled to stay consistent with meditation. It's one of those practices that's just so universally recognized as a good thing, but at the same time, it's one of those habits that's really quite hard to stay consistent with. I decided to make a commitment to myself this year to use Headspace, so actually follow a program all the way through in meditation. They have some wonderful free short courses on there, which you can take now, just to see if maybe their approach is right for you. The cumulative effects of meditation are fascinating, and it's one of those things that you can't really experience until you're staying committed to it. What I've decided to do is set myself 15 minutes every single day, straight after journaling, to just sit down, work through one of my Headspace kind of videos, and get my meditation done. And I find that my brain is just so much clearer at the end of that than it would have been otherwise, and it allows me to focus so much more on the other stuff that I've got going on in my life, such as work. And you might expect that the goal of meditation is to have this sort of clear mind, or to just lack emotion completely, but that's absolutely not the case. It's simply about learning to stop everything, to focus, be able to let these negative thoughts come in, and then to let them go. In many ways, it is very similar to journaling, which is why they're a very good complement to each other. Number 3, focusing on my diet and scheduling my workouts. The next way that I've been trying to get out of my slump is to double down and focus on my diet plan and actually start scheduling my workout routines. For me, when I'm working towards an actual schedule instead of relying on motivation to get things done, it's far better, because motivation is one of those things that is finite. Some days you're going to be a lot more stressed than others, and by building that habit instead of actually relying on motivation, you're far more likely to follow through and actually do this good stuff. My diet, for example, is designed to help me build muscle and recover better in my sport of choice, which is CrossFit. Now, CrossFit is one of those sports that's incredibly technical and sort of relies on you staying committed to the program to be able to see these improvements. So at the moment, I'm doing 3 sort of workouts of the days, which tend to incorporate a variety of movements, but then 2 technical classes every single week as well. So that's 5 days a week minimum where possible. The important thing here is to just not overstretch yourself. If you're new to this whole kind of nutrition and working out thing, then maybe scheduling 3 days a week would be better for you. I know when I fall off the wagon, I tend to try and go back to 4 times a week, build up a couple of weeks of getting into that habit, and then add that 5th class on. That allows me then to just build the habit, get back into the sort of momentum of everything, and just kind of get back into a schedule again. As for sticking to a diet plan, I find it much easier to actually batch cook things. I tend to cook maybe 3 days a week, and I'll tend to have sort of 2 or 3 days worth of meals done kind of at a time. By having all of my food prepped in advance, it sort of clears up that mental space, so I don't need to sort of resist getting a takeout or something similar with my wife. I find that if I'm actually not strict with my diet as well, I tend to feel quite crap after a few days. So making sure I have this laid out well in advance helps me to avert that completely. Number 4, downtime. Finally, I want to talk to you about downtime, and in particular, not beating yourself up about it. I get it. You want to be productive. You don't want to waste a single minute of your life that can be spent on doing something that will help you become a better person. At the end of the day, we're human, and we need to be able to take time out every now and again. The important thing here is that you make sure this downtime doesn't become your life, that you're not filling every individual second outside of work with this sort of guilt-free downtime. What I tend to do is schedule maybe 2 or 3 nights a week where I have absolute guilt-free downtime to do something like watching a TV show, playing some video games, or anything like that really. By building these positive habits, it allows you to not fall into a negative habit and actually spend more time doing things that inspire and excite you. The important thing is during this downtime that you do not feel guilty about it. There's no point having downtime and then worrying about it and start feeling guilty for wasting productive time or whatever. That's certainly how I felt for a very long time. So I would have less and less time to do things that I've always quite enjoyed growing up, like playing video games, for example. There were times where I'd even only get maybe 15 to 30 minutes a week, and that made me kind of sad. So I've started scheduling in, quite specific times where I can just sit down and play some video games guilt-free. Now I don't go through as many as I used to, but it still allows me to sort of stay connected with who I was growing up and to have those simple joys. Conclusion. So there we have it. 4 really simple ways to help you get out of a slump. So just to recap. Number 1, journaling. Number 2, meditation. Number 3, planning out your meals and scheduling workouts. And number 4, having guilt-free downtime. There's a very, very simple takeaway here, and it's about building these little systems that allow you to build positive habits instead of relying on motivation, which is finite. You're never going to be perfect, and aiming for that perfection is a seriously toxic way of living life. So give yourself a break, help yourself out by building these little systems, and start developing positive habits. By incorporating some of these ideas, hopefully you can get back on the wagon again and start sort of working towards achieving your ambitions and your dreams. I hope this helped you in some way, as it's helped me a lot over the years. But now it's your turn to tell me. What little systems or changes have you made in your life to help you get out of slump? I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please drop me a like. I really appreciate it, and it helps this video get a bit more exposure, which hopefully will reach someone that really needs it. If you'd like to see more from me, hit that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday at 9 AM. But until next time, ta-ra.